brought to you by Visionary Parenting. Start reading for free today at visionaryfam.com/parenting.
Family trips are a big investment with a big impact. Join us for this important conversation today on Family Vision.
Hi, my name is Amy Rienow. Welcome to Family Vision with my parents, Dr. Rob and Amy Rienow, strengthening families through practical, encouraging, and real conversations.
Rob and Amy Rienow here with Visionary Family Ministries. We hope that you had a wonderful Christmas. You experienced Christ's love for you and for your family in a very, very special way. And we're glad to have this time with you on Family Vision. We want you to follow the Family Vision podcast, but more than that, we want your family to follow Jesus. That is why we're here with you right now. Well, in the next few episodes, we received some questions from our friends, the Jacks family, Brian and Amy Jacks and their kids out in Virginia. Not only did they email just questions typed out, they actually recorded MP3s for us to listen to and to play for the Family Vision audience. So are you ready? We're going to do 3 episodes on their 3 questions.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Way to go, Jack's family.
I know, impressive. We're like, well, we're going to reward that, right? If you
right,
take,
exactly. If you bring questions,
actually record a question, we're going to honor that by putting it on the podcast. So here we go. The Jacks family, question number 1.
Hello, Rienows. It's the Jacks family from Virginia. We were wondering if you would spend a little time talking about trips, adventures, or outings that your family has taken that were especially meaningful in building memories and experiencing and seeing God's work and potentially serving others. Thank you so much, and thank you for the ministry. We appreciate you all.
All right, well, what a great question, and I think a good time of year
Yes.
here as we're going into a brand new year, thinking about what's the calendar, what's the schedule, what's the priorities. So let's talk about this whole question of family trips.
yeah, I didn't realize what a gift it was from my family growing up, that was built into our family DNA. My parents are travelers. They always planned a family vacation. And it would be different based on ages of kids and timing, but I traveled a lot because of my parents, and it was a passion that they both had. So I grew up with that traveling bug, and that was just normal for us. But kind of the family vacation was never in question. There was always going to be a family vacation. Sometimes maybe more than one, maybe one at spring break and one in the summer. But it was also, in my family, that was distinguished differently from going to visit family. We took a lot of other trips. We'd always go visit my mom's parents. We'd visit my dad's parents not as frequently. My mom's parents were in Indiana. That was close. Houston was a much bigger trip. But we would then also, on top of that, have a family vacation that was dedicated to our family alone. And that was the main way our family connected. I mean, that was kind of the purpose. It was usually often fun, educational, but a lot about this is our family time, was family vacation.
You know, my experience was probably on the other end of the spectrum. We didn't do a lot of family travel, didn't do a lot of family vacations. You know, some of that probably was a priority. Some of that was my parents' marriage wasn't all that great. I don't have many memories of vacation or travel trips. I have a memory when I was 13. I went to Florida with my mom. We went down. Her brother, my Uncle Sonny, had a place down there, so we went down there for a week. I took a business trip with my dad to Kansas City, and I played a lot of Pac-Man in the hotel lobby while he was doing business things and having his meetings, but I rocked Pac-Man. I thought that was pretty good. And we just did more like day trips. I grew up in New England, and so we did a fair amount of, I guess what you'd say, those historical, almost like a family field trip to see local sites and things. But I didn't grow up in a family with that vacation culture. And so part of the message today is we're going to be really encouraging you to take trips, but I didn't grow up with any trips, and I'm fine. So if you don't do a lot of trips, it's going to be okay. But we are going to be encouraging you, I think, especially with the question that the Jacks asked, that these can be a really powerful thing in your family culture and in your faith.
Well, and I do think it's worth taking whatever step you're at to do something. Like you even mentioned a day trip. Some people, even that can feel intimidating, like taking the family, to the local museum or the zoo. Even those things can seem like, is that worth the expense? Is it worth the time? And I do find that every time you step out of your everyday life and you do something together experientially, that just builds a memory for one thing, but it builds an opportunity for a different type of relationship because you get in the habit as a family of doing the same old. And whenever you go out on a trip, different interactions start, different relationships, there's probably be more conflict. That's part of the deal. You kind of get the conflict with the trip, but that's okay because it's usually producing, you're producing a whole different experience. And the conflict is part of just getting closer together. When you step out of your regular comfort zone and you do an activity together, it's not unusual for there to be conflict. And we often think of that as parents or just as humans, that we think that's a negative, that conflict's negative. But conflict is usually coming to the surface for a reason, and the trip is a good reason to deal with it instead of, not having it ever show up.
In our first 10 years of marriage and family, we pretty much did two kinds of trips. Obviously, I had limited vacation, younger families, younger employees, even working at a church, you have limited amount of vacation maybe compared to when you're older. So we did two kinds of trips. We took trips to see family, and when we did mission trips and ministry trips. And part of what we're going to do today is talk about kind of the different types of family trips that you can do and how to pull it off. So let's talk about both of those, just the let's go see family trips, but then also the ministry trips.
Well, I think it is hard, especially with young families, when you don't have a lot of finances and you are primarily doing trips where you're going to see family, which is what we did, which we loved. And you had family, of course. We were living near my family, but your family was both in Seattle and Connecticut.
And your family in Houston.
And yes, and we saw my extended family in Texas. So a lot of those trips were visiting family, and that was delightful, and we really liked that. But we would often also, during those trips, take a day and do a day trip, just our family, so that we could combine both. And that would be my suggestion to you, because it is important to have time that I think is just your family when you do some of these experiences. Because if all your trips are always going to see family, sometimes what happens is that you get kind of caught up in, the adults are talking to the adults, the kids are either talking to the cousins or the kids, and you're actually not having that much time, with you interacting with your own kids. It just depends on all those family dynamics. Or you might find it stressful, like you need to go visit family, but it's going to bring up a lot of different family dynamics that some of those will be great and some of those will be difficult. That's part of the package. So I like to call those trips more than vacations because a vacation kind of implies that you're taking a break, that you are putting your feet up, that you're resting. And when you as a young family are using your vacation time to do a family trip and go visit family, I think people then are surprised, they come back and they're more exhausted. They maybe had, relational intention, issues that were not there beforehand. So they're coming back going, why did I do that? Why did I spend my vacation time doing that? And they're feeling discouraged. It often discourages them from using the vacation time. So we're trying to encourage you that don't think of it as a vacation. Think of the value of visiting a family trip. And a trip is great. It's wonderful. And it's a difference and change of pace, but it's not quote unquote vacation. Like you're not, if you had the expectation that you're going to come back from that family trip feeling relaxed and refreshed, and, that's probably the wrong expectation.
Funny story from one of our Connecticut trips. Part of this is understanding New England mindset versus Midwest mindset. So New England mindset when it comes to travel, if something is more than an hour's drive away, you have to spend the night. You could not drive 1 hour to a place, do a thing for an afternoon, and come home. It just can't. It can't be done. You have to understand that. So then I move out to the Midwest, and I'm now a Midwesterner. So hey, if it could be 4 hours one way, and your parents are down in Indiana, we would drive down 3.5, 4 hours in the same day if we had to,
right,
and turn around and come back. This could be done. So we are early married. We are going out to Connecticut, and Amy says to me, "Hey, now I grew up around Hartford, Connecticut." And Amy says, why don't we go up to Boston?
Yeah, I would love to see Boston.
I'd love to see Boston.
I've never really been to New England before.
And I'm like, honey, we're going to spend whatever it is, 5 days with my family. We are not spending 3 days in Boston. Out of the 5 days, we're going to be in Connecticut. And she's looking at me.
And I'm like, of course we're not going to
She's
spend
like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, honey, you can't go to Boston without 2 nights. That is a double overnight trip without question. And I'm not going to, I haven't seen my family and all this.
You
It's
would
just
never do that.
totally uncool. She just keeps looking at me like, what? I don't understand this, And she gets out the map. Turns out that I grew up an hour and a half from Boston. Never knew it, never went there. Maybe I went there once because it required a 3-day trip. And lo and behold, we did our little day trip up to Boston. It was wonderful. So it's great.
It's just, it's so funny to me, it's good to know the type of family you're marrying into, and it was a good dynamic for me to understand.
And all our New England listeners right now are saying, I cannot believe you drove from Hartford to Boston in the same day and came back. They're mortified that this has happened.
That is just not, that was not acceptable.
Rightly so.
Right. Well, it's interesting how you can put your New England hat back on and defend that so quickly compared
They're my
to
people.
The Midwestern hat. Well, you just went to Green Bay last week. And what temperature did you go to Green Bay in? And
it was fine.
And how
it was
many
like
hours?
18. It was warm.
And it was what? You went, how many hours did it take you?
3.5 to 4.
And then,
I went to my first NFL game with my friend Kevin Weber.
So that was a 4
Packers
hour.
Bears.
But that was a
Lambeau
4-hour
Field,
trip
frozen
for
tundra.
a football game with a 4-hour trip back.
Sure, but we had the boys with us.
Right. So like I said, this is.
Okay, we need to get
Where are we
back
going?
to
I was going to say, we're not helping
our audience
anybody.
with the trips. Let's shift and talk about family mission trips because these have been a central part of our life and our experience and have been transformational.
Yes, and something that we're hoping with VFM to provide more opportunities for all families to be able to do this because we think this is an amazing experience that draws your family together. So let me just back up the train a little bit. We fell into this idea of doing missions trip because, I married into it. Rob was youth pastor. He was already doing missions trips. We were doing missions trips together. So when I started having children, I went on the missions trips with the little ones. And my parents came too on these mission trips. Let's just give a shout out to my parents. Are they the most amazing, not many grandparents can put up with the things that my parents put up with on these missions trips. We're going to go to the Navajo reservation.
Their bags are packed.
And you're going to, have to use an outhouse and, all of that. And you're going to sleep in a church with high school kids. Okay, great. Yeah. It's crazy. It's really incredible. But I think because of all the travel that they believed in, they were always ready for an adventure. But these missions trips really, I think, showed us, even when we had those little kids going on high school trips, that there's something about it's easy for people to invest in a family vacation. They think they're going to take a break and, do something that is going to be rewarding for them. But it's really crazy in our culture to invest to go serve or to invest and go be uncomfortable somewhere. And that's when why as a family, why would we ever do that? Well, when you work together and, when you serve together, when you sacrifice together, when you're praying together, when your focus is on serving the Lord, you're not only blessing the people that you're serving, but the blessing you're receiving is tenfold. I would say even 100-fold. I think our kids would say that they would choose all of the mission trip experiences they had over the trips to Disney World. And we did go to Disney World. I kind of grew up in a Disney family, so we did have those trips too. But if you had to ask our kids what was the most valuable or what they have the most positive memories from, it's always the missions trips.
And one of the places to start on this, maybe you are in a church or you're in a Christian education environment where there are youth mission trips. One of the entry steps is just to volunteer to be an adult on the mission trip, to go with your kids on the youth trip so that you can be with them side by side. Or if your church does men's trips and youth trips, but they don't have a family missions trip or a family service day like we talked about before, even local opportunities, go to your pastor and said, hey, we've got a real heart to do a multi-generational trip, a family trip. Is there a way that we could be a part of leading or organizing something like that?
Well, and I just also want to just tell all the families out there, it's going to involve a lot of different types of sacrifices. And I think one of the reasons that keeps people from doing these type of experiences is, yes, there will be a financial investment. There's going to be a huge time investment. And there's also going to be a sacrifice of other things that your kids might want to be doing, whether your kids are at the age where they have jobs that they have to not work at, not make money. They'll might push back on that. Whether they're in sports or activities, there's always something that you will have to miss in order to go on these type of trips. And that is the lie out there, like, is it really worth that? Should you do that? And we just want to encourage you that the answer is yes, yes, yes. Take the time to invest in these types of trips. I can't remember this family was in our youth group days. He had told us, this dad, that he did not spend money on his house because he always put the money into a family trip, family vacation. So like he felt like, our house is fine. It's not newly updated. It's not renovated, but we spend our money on family vacations. But I just thought that was a great example where he knew he can't do both. I can't get the new furniture for this room, or I can't have the nicer house. But this is where he felt his money was well spent. But that's a good example of, making the sacrifice to do it.
Right. And we've got one of these situations coming up in just a couple of weeks. Millie and Ray, as siblings, are going to Scotland together on a mission trip. We had to book that and schedule that through their school months and months and months ago before the basketball schedule came out. Then the basketball schedule came out. Turns out that, Ray is missing a couple games, couple big games and things. And we're talking about that. Oh, it's so hard to miss that. But then putting that in perspective, when Ray is 30 years old, is he going to remember going with his sister on an evangelistic mission trip to Scotland and sharing the good news of Jesus, or is he going to remember 2 basketball games from his sophomore year of high school, or Millie from her, basketball season?
Right.
And the answer is, you put it that way, it's completely obvious. Nobody remembers the miscellaneous games in high school, but they remember those things that we did, that we set aside, that were unusual, that were a big commitment. And part of the way, our family's wired up, and some of this is because of the VFM schedule. I mean, the conferences for VFM get booked a year in advance, so 2026 is completely full. So if Amy says to me, hey, can we take a vacation next month? I mean, okay, maybe, but let's look at what's already scheduled. So one of the practical things that we have to do in our family is to just plan way in the future.
Yes.
Right? So, and you could even do that right now. You could open up your summer calendar to 2028. I can almost assure you there's hardly anything on 2028 or 2027. And pick a week. Say that's going to be our family vacation week. That's our visit family week. That's our family mission trip week. Whatever you want to fill in there. That also can help with the financial side of things. Because one of the things you don't want to do is to come back from a trip with massive financial regrets, right? So sometimes it requires coming up with a financial plan. Sometimes talking to the kids about the financial plan, getting contributions from the kids for the financial plan, so that you've saved, you're invested, and you're ready to go.
But I want to go back to the Jacks family and their wonderful question. I think the first place to start is praying as a family. And if it is your heart's desire to do a family missions trip, to start praying for God to open doors, to lead you to different ministries that would be well suited. I mean, not all missions trips are great for families. You have to find the right connection. And I want to encourage you that VFM, when we did our Filter of Hope trip to the DR, we've got another missions trip on the rise. We've got another team that might be going out with Filter Hope soon from our church. But VFM, our heart is to help families have these experiences. And we are growing as our own organization, and we don't know how God's going to answer that prayer, but that's our heart. But as a family, you guys can pray and see where God leads, and realize that if He's opening the door for you to go on a family missions trip, our encouragement is for you to take it, and that you will not regret it, and the fruit from that will be incredible.
And you could even join us for a week of family camp, week of family vacation, summer 2026, third week of July. Our ministry is going to be leading a multi-generational camp up at Cedar Bay, up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. In fact, we love having time with you through the podcast, but we would really enjoy seeing you face to face. January 10th is the Never Too Late Conference in Charleston, South Carolina. That's for parents of adult children. January 17-18 is the Visionary Parenting Summit at Village Church in Barrington, Illinois. January 24th, also in Illinois, a Father-Son Connect morning, just 9:30 to 11. Strengthen your relationship as father, son, grandfather, grandson. Then more spring events, Oklahoma, Kansas, Seattle, Nashville. We want to see you. We would love the chance to get to know you personally. Please take a moment and look at that summer family camp opportunity. All of these events are there for you at visionaryfam.com/events.
I just wanted to also say that you can look at our website to see some of the other family camps that we go to on a regular basis, because the other thing we encourage families to really consider some of these wonderful family camps around the country that are designed to help your family to rest, relax, actually have your meals prepared and come home rested, but also to grow spiritually as a family. And I would also encourage families to check those out.
Love it. Yeah, this summer, I should have mentioned, 2 family camps. We're at Northern Pines in Wisconsin and Cedar Bay in Michigan. And we'd also love to hear from you personally. Maybe you have got some prayer needs for your family. Our prayer team would love to pray for you or pray with you. Actually, schedule a call to pray with you on the phone. You could email us directly at podcast@visionaryfam.com. And we look forward to our next time together with you on Family Vision.